Добрый день, мы готовы начать. Спасибо большое, что вы к нам сегодня пришли. Я представлю нашего сегодняшнего гостя, Арто Сивонен. Он приехал к нам из Финляндии, из Хельсинки. Я думаю, что вы все про него прочитали. Действительно, одним словом, довольно сложно охарактеризовать его специализацию и деятельность, потому что там замиксовано все: и маркетинг, и урбанизм, и активизм. И вот как раз этот микс позволяет Арто делать очень интересные проекты на стыке разных сфер, на стыке разных дисциплин, которые приводят к таким глобальным изменениям и в Финляндии, и не только. И вот про свои проекты, про то, как все это совмещать, Арто сегодня нам расскажет. Спасибо.
Thank you. Oh, wow, it's loud. Maybe a bit down. I'm not going to break your ears. Okay, thanks. My Russian is so bad, so I think I hope this is okay. I'm only speaking English, and if you need any translation, we can check it out later on. What I'm talking about. But why I'm here is my personal background is from advertising, in I think 20 years around in different countries, and around 8 years ago I resigned from the last one, and I was based then in Helsinki, TPWA. And with a few reasons. One reason was ethical reason, because I know that storytelling and campaigning and marketers, we can do a lot of things because we are trained to sell whatever. But mainly creative agencies are doing whatever for money. So I wanted to do something what was important for me, but I wanted to use the tools what I know. But I didn't have any place to go, so I need to resign. And in those years, there was no other agencies where I could kind of join them. So I built a company by myself. This is a story of entrepreneurship also, because I highly believe that if you really believe on something and you want to do something what you respect in your private life, I think building a company is one option. So I'm here because of the headline is how storytelling can promote social change, and also I'm saying something about activism itself. So what do we do? Just shortly before about what we do mainly, we do a few kinds of things. We work a lot with sustainable issues, and sustainability, as you know, is a massive topic. And other than that, you can put energy, you can put there some food issues, traveling, urban planning, everything, a lot of things. And then we are working quite a lot with the human rights stuff right now in different countries, and also everything what is related to culture and arts. And shortly, this is only a few examples what kind of work we do. In the first corner is called Circles. We are working with the researchers with the circle economy. We are helping researchers to find companies to use the latest resources and latest research knowledge. University of Arts, we've been building their strategy in Helsinki. This is called Nordic Match. We're working with different Nordic creatives in Stockholm, Copenhagen, Oslo, and Helsinki to build better connections between Nordic people, Nordic creatives. I'm going really fast through all this work because I don't want to waste on too much time on this. But just to get a picture of what kind of work we do, we have the new central library in Helsinki. We built them cycling libraries to promote whatever they have. We have Sea Pool in Helsinki downtown nowadays. We built them crowdfunding plan, crowdsourcing plan, so we kind of involve citizens that they can also be part of the whole building project in Helsinki downtown. Salam is a new project. We will release it next week. We're working in Afghanistan and in Iraq right now with the Foreign Ministry of Finland. We're promoting peace with the young guys, so we are having workshops in both countries. We are helping them to understand what the sustainability means. We are helping them to find each other. We are helping them to build better connections, find each other in different parts of the country, and also helping them to find the media from both countries. Then the music hall, we've been helping them to do some crowdsourcing stuff, Kiasma, modern art. We've been hiring few artists around Finland. The main purpose, we were asking different young people from different small cities around Finland reason why you would like to stay and don't run away from your home city and come to Helsinki. And they gave us few ideas, and we chose the best ones, and we gave them an artist to make the dream come true. That was a super interesting project. We've been helping Helsinki City with the cycling issues and so forth. A lot of stuff. Most of them are in our website, and I'm happy to tell more if someone is interested in it. But what we do, we build a lot of strategies. Strategy work means, like, for example, if you have a space like this, first you need to think who are coming here, what is the target group, what kind of language you need to use that they will come, what kind of communities you can build. And brand strategy means, like, what is the brand of the whole place, what kind of story you are telling to the people that they will understand what is this about. This is strategy, this is what we do. Creative planning means branding. Like, once your strategy is done, we need to build the name, we need to find the name, we need to find the brand story, we need to find the visual language, tone of voice, what kind of language you're using, all the pictures, visual world. And then we, of course, we do activation, means campaigning, means events like this. Okay. Let's go back to the main issue. It's about sustainability. And I was here last June in St. Petersburg in the Baltic Sea Days with a small keynote. And before that, just visited my friends a few times before. And I think that's something what we kind of share in these two cities now. I mean, everywhere in the world. Interest of sustainability. But I mean, the main problem is normally, like, we don't really understand what that means. And it means pretty much everything what is here. These are United Nations global goals. Maybe you have seen the picture, but I mean, this is important at first place, always look through, because once you pick something out from here, you need to remember you need all of this in a certain level. Like, sustainability means everything what is related to water, everything is related to energy, or gender equality, or climate actions, or food, or health, or education. I mean, everything is in the same package. And I think in different societies have different kinds of chances to be sustainable. But normally in some cultures who are okay in their governance, with their education, with a policy, it's easier to be sustainable also in a climate way. So I think everything is connected pretty much. And some organizations, some companies are picking some part of this, but also you need to remember that you need to remember what else is happening. And also human rights and climate issues are pretty much connected. Like, for example, if you buy some products from the market and you can see organic label. And there should be also a fair trade label. Why? Because they are connected. There should be one. But with the labeling, we have a massive problem right now because we don't really have the labels that we can really believe in. Because, I mean, we need to have too many labels and no one understands anything about them, mainly. And then we need to understand the scale of everything. I mean, I know, so for example, St. Petersburg is a big issue, is about recycling and waste management stuff, and really understand why. And maybe later on, I mean, the bigger issue will be like how to change consuming. Because, I mean, the biggest thing, of course, is something else than recycling itself. But again, I mean, you need to have, the whole system should work. And then you can start to think what really matters. So, of course, traveling is a big one. Food industry is playing a big part of this, energy and housing. I don't know, did you saw this? This is super interesting. They released this, I think, 3-4 weeks ago. Financial Times came out, and everyone was pretty kind of surprised what they said. They said that capitalism need to change. And the media is super conservative in a way. But what was the main message? They, like before, we were thinking like the companies were meant to kind of give as much as money as possible to their owners. And pretty much what they say, we need to change this. And in the future, the companies should give most of the benefits to their clients and their customers and for the community especially. And that's the massive change, and that has to be changed. And this is not the only, call from Financial Times. So many companies and corporations are really going towards this. And why this is also interesting is like the first time when IPCC climate report was released, something started to happen. And next time they released another part, started even more. And when Amazon is burning now, even more people are activating. And I can see the massive difference in the corporate level now, from the CEO's perspective and from the marketing managers also. And why this is happening is also because the companies can see that they need to change because their customers want to change. And another thing, what is really matters, that there are really human beings who are ruling these companies. They're like whoever who are kind of responsible of their family or their kids. If I own 50% of this company, I want to change this because of my daughter and my son want to see the world after 50 years still like this. So I think people are taking climate issues now in a personal level, which is a good news. And that's why these things are happening. But we have a lot of work to do. There are a lot of companies who wants to be super sustainable. Like Kira was visiting Helsinki this August with a group of people from St. Petersburg, and we went to visit Flow Festival, which is a pretty amazing music festival. And they are also super sustainable festival. But the one, I really love that. But most of the people, and so many people who were there, were surprised. Like you can see every screen, all the major brands were saying we're so sustainable, but none of them said what they're really gonna do. And people are a bit pissed off because of this nowadays, because we want to see actions and we want to know how you are sustainable. It's not enough you're just saying the stories. I was supposed to show you some videos, but because of some technical problems, it doesn't work. So I'm not going to show this. It's one backseat example of what kind of marketing you shouldn't do. You can Google this, Pepsi Cola advertising. It's about demonstration and about how they want to involve new kind of activism in the marketing. Check it out later on. But let's go back to these like major issues. Let's say first, let's go to the food issues. Food is something what is like everyone is interested at. And like, for example, St. Petersburg is, I was so surprised last June when I was here. Like this is amazing food city. The restaurant level is super interesting. There are lots of different kind of kitchens around. And food is something what always brings people together. So food is something also like we've been fighting a lot, like last few years. Everywhere. Like, should you be vegetarian or vegan, or how much meat you should eat? Also in Finland, we are like fighting because of this all the time. And it's several reasons. Of course, one thing is like, it's a financial issue. Once we start to change our industry, that is not so connected to mass production anymore. Or it should be, we should eat less dairy, drink less dairy, or eat less meat. We need to change the system also, that the production part will also survive. But what we can do about it, we need to change the laws, we need to change the way, what kind of businesses we support, of course. That's super important. But then also, I think what is really important is what the companies are going to do. Let's not wait only the lawmakers, because companies can change a lot of things. This is a burger from... it's a vegan burger. It's released last week, I think, in United States, and from McDonald's. And it's called Beyond Meat. The beef is made out of plants. And it's like products, they have done that. Like they've been researching how to find the right structure and exactly right taste for this beef, called beef. And then they finally found it. I tasted it first time maybe a year ago, and I didn't really like it because I've been vegetarian like 15 years, so I don't want to eat any meat. But then some of my friends who are meat lovers, they're really surprised. They're like, wow, this is weird. But I mean, once McDonald's is doing it, this is going to change a lot of things. And now, I mean, and in Finland, finally, I mean, we are eating meat more and more every year. This year was the first year when it's dropping down. Helsinki is another story than Finland, because Helsinki is actually totally different way the other part of Finland. But also Finland is changing, and I think this is what's happening everywhere in the world. Another thing, at least as big as food, is a fashion. And this is more complicated. Because when we talk about food, I think we have some kind of knowledge, at least, what is good for our health, what is good for animals, what is good for environment, what is like, there are a lot of social issues in it. But when it comes to fashion, we don't know anything. I don't know. I mean, if I buy a shirt, if I buy this shirt from the store, and I don't know the quality, I don't know how long it will last. If I wash it once, is it okay, it's gone? Or what's gonna happen? So only thing what I can trust is the brands. Can you trust the brands? No, you can't. Some of them you can if you really know what they do. Most of them you can't. So I think we are acting the same way. So only thing what matters now is the price. That's why we buy like too cheap stuff all the time. €5 H&M t-shirts. It's a massive problem, and there are a lot of things going on related to fashion right now. And because we've been talking about food last 5-6 years everywhere, and some talks about fashion, but not really. But now it's really coming up. Once you Google fashion, climate change, sustainability, blah, 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 you can find a lot of super interesting documents about this, like just released. I could name it later on if you're interested. And more information is coming out all the time. The one thing is like how we design our clothes, it matters. Another thing is like where you produce your clothes, it matters. And then the last thing is what you need to learn again how to buy our clothes, because we get used to buy too cheap stuff. And even this recycling thing again, like we know kind of what is recycling fabrics, for example. But if the quality is not good enough, then recycling is nothing. It should last. That's kind of the key point. One example about businesses who are kind of changing the way how you can produce different kinds of fashion or for example, in this case, bags, is called Lovia. It's a Finnish brand. It's a startup brand. They get all their kind of leftover leather from one furniture company. And out of that is trash what they use. They make bags. And those bags are right now maybe the hippest thing in Helsinki. Everyone wants to wear them because they are really, really high stuff, like good level stuff, and not so cheap because design is pretty good. So this is one example, like how you can kind of use this thinking of circular economy, how you can reuse the material. But in this case, I think what is super important and interesting is like the final product is not like worn out, looking bad. I mean, it's really like super stylish stuff. And if we are buying food which is organic, we are not buying it if it tastes bad, or we are not buying sustainable fashion if it looks bad. It should be as good as what the normal thing is. This is what's happening right now in advertising. This is a picture from Stockholm this week. Is Asked.com is a Swedish fashion brand. They just said it there, fuck fast fashion for making us feel left out unless we buy in, for making the price so low when the true cost is so high, for giving material satisfaction at the expense of human compassion, for exploiting impulse when what we need is insight, for luring us into wanting more when we're better off with less, for degrading garments, disciples when they are so valuable. And I think that's also what is we call corporate activism. So many companies, young companies, they are really, really pretty aggressive right now. And so many startups, I mean, they are based on sustainable thinking because, I mean, they was born in this world, which should be sustainable. But once you have a company who already are working in the sector which is not sustainable at all. I mean, once you start to change, it takes time. It needs patience, and it needs a lot of work. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, and then they do a lot of greenwashing because they can't tell the truth. But then you have new ones who are really challenging the market. And then people have, this is interesting, I mean, so many people have really, I think we all have, some kind of really tight connection to some brands and some companies. I don't know what kind of brands you're wearing now. Most of the people say we don't care about the brands at all, but I think we do. If you go buy some food from the market, you buy some exact brand because you know, like it's healthy or it's sustainable or it tastes good or whatever, or it looks nice package, you buy it, or your friends are liking it, so I'm gonna buy it also. So you have some kind of connection on that, but it's really hard to admit that, like we are really doing it. But sometimes it really works also in a positive way. See, Samuji is a Finnish design brand. Samu Jussi, he's a designer. He used to be the main designer for Marimekko, another design brand, and he built this up. Designs are amazing, and he has really, really super good values, and people love the brand. He opened the next bigger store in New York, but then something happened. Financial-wise, they got down, seriously, almost bankrupt. And there was, these news were in our major news, I think, this summer, and people were shocked. Oh, this young, new, beautiful brand is doing so badly. What can we do about it? So what they did, they released a crowdfunding campaign, so they collect money from the people. You had two kinds of way how to do crowdfunding. You can have like old school way, like you can give money in and you can get something from it. This is like what in the Finnish law actually is saying, what we need to, or if you give money to someone, some company, some NGO, or you always need to give something back. Or you can buy a share, a bit more modern way. But they made it old school because they were running out, out of time. But what happened? I talked to the manager and they also a bit surprised, like people really, they came to their store and they were so sad, they want to support them. This is two Facebook posts, I just picked it up yesterday when I was coming here. They just collected 150,000 euros, super short time. Just people just easily gave the money away because they want to save the brand, because it's their brand. And I was so surprised also, like there were like my friends who are working in design field or marketing field, and they're really kind of cynical people like I am sometimes. I was so surprised that they're so positive in the social media. We want to save this brand, we love this, and oh, come on people, it's a company. But then, well, they saved them, and then now there another post, though so many people were kind of sad that they couldn't give money for them anymore because they closed the campaign. So they want to take them in somehow in the future. So we have at least companies who are really strong values, more and more people wants to support them. I do want to support them, because there was a research made in Finland last year. They asked young people between 16 and I think 24, if you want to change the world, what is the best way you can do it? Guess what they say? They said with buying better. They want to use their money in a better way. And that's what they do. They choose everything related to this. Also, they choose the working places on this. It's not the salary anymore. And the biggest brands knows this. And because in Finland we are really running out of workforce. It's a massive problem right now. We don't have enough people, but we have a lot of work to do. And the biggest gaming companies, biggest IT companies, they are really doing good work right now, and really they want to be part of the society with the climate issues and with the human rights stuff. And young people support that. And that why they're doing it also because they need the greatest talents in. Tourism, another one. That's tricky one. I think most of us loves to travel a lot everywhere, fly around, and I do. I'm try to fly less. That's why I'm trying to use trains all the time. It's really nice to come by train, 3.5 hours from Helsinki to here. And this is a big discussion going on at the same time with the fashion right now everywhere. So, as we know, once we fly is around 4% of our carbon footprint right now. But when we think how much it warms to our climate, it's around 8%. And researchers say it's going to double because we fly more and more every year, everyone. So it's going to be 16. So then we are talking about big numbers. So this is a big thing what's going on. And about the tourism, it's not only like how do you fly, it's also like what do you do when after you have been flying somewhere? How do you act there? Where do you stay? Like what kind of businesses you support? And you know what's happening. Sweden, well, okay, as a Finn, we always look to Sweden. Then, because they're not nowadays actually looking at Finland pretty often, but then we are like brothers, and we are always like nagging to each other with everything, and also with this issue, because Sweden is ahead of Finland with this. Kind of what's happening in Sweden right now is like they are saying that they have like a flight shame. It means people are feeling like no one wants to post anymore the pictures when they are in the airport. And that's really happening actually. It's happening also in Finland, but it's really happening in Sweden. So the amount of people who are flying is dropping down now. It's not so good thing to do. But instead of that, if you're in a railway station, you want to take a picture. And this has been changing so fast, inside a year. But the problem is our kind of existing networks, like rail networks and how we can travel, doesn't support this new need. We don't really know how to travel without a flying, because last 20 years, 30 years, we've been flying a lot because it's so cheap, it's so easy. I just go to some online channel and buy my tickets. But if you want to take a train to, let's say, Rome from here, what are you going to do? Well, pretty complicated. You need to know where to buy the train ticket, to where and where to change, and you take a lot of time, and probably it's going to be more expensive because in flying there are no taxes in it. It's without the taxes. That's why it's too cheap. And that's in European Union level. That's a massive discussion going on. Should be there the same taxes than with the railways. Then it's going to change everything, because then the prices are going up, and all of us we're going to fly less, or we're going to use some kind of other ways how to travel. The price is one, and also the time is another thing. And why? For example, in Finland we have a problem because we are living kind of in an island. Because if we want to go to the southern Europe, we need to go to Stockholm, then to Copenhagen, then to Hamburg, and then it's easy. Another chance is come to St. Petersburg, and then in that way go to the Europe. Or the last chance is go to the Tallinn first and take the bus, but because there's no railways, really good ones. So it's quite complicated. And so we need to renew the way how we can travel. This is like politicians are thinking about this now, and I think major changes are going to happen. But we can do also something by ourselves again. Last January we have traveling fair in Finland, in Helsinki. It's the biggest in Nordic Europe. It's a quite big one. And then me and two of my friends, we start to think like why they're having this kind of fair, because I'm always asking these two of my friends, like if I want to use trains, like where should I go, because they have all knowledge in their head. They're so good at it. I forgot everything. So we thought, okay, you guys know and I know something. Why don't we share everything what we know, and let's build like alternative traveling fair, like another kind of traveling fair without flying. So we thought we open let's try it. It doesn't cost anything. Let's open our office space in Helsinki. The space is kind of this size, quite small. And we think, okay, maybe 30, 40 people will come and we will share our traveling stories because it's a lot of fun to use trains and with a lot of interesting stories behind it. After 1 week, we noticed like there are at least 500 people coming. Then, okay, we can't do this anymore. So we asked Helsinki City to join in. Say they gave us a quite massive spot in downtown. So there's a picture from there. And we were all major Finnish news and media because of this. Because everyone was like, what is this? Alternative traveling fair. And why you're doing it? Because this is something what is hard to kind of understand. What happened in the fair? It was a super nice event. Like I think I can sense that you have pretty good vibes in this space. Because people are smiling and talking and so forth. These people were super talkative because everyone wants to tell their stories and their experiences. Or we had different kind of debates or panel discussions with the politicians, how we to change this. But the major thing, it was kind of crowdsourced traveling fairs. So people told their own experiences, their own information to each other. We did it twice because more people were coming, and then we started to think, okay, we can't do it anymore because it's quite a lot of work without anyone paying anything. So I think we had a lot of work to do otherwise. But then traveling fair, the big one called us and said let's join because I think we need to change how we behave. So next January, we're going to have traveling without flying in a fair center in Helsinki, 500 square meters. And that's going to be a massive one. And our major companies are coming there. And I hope the major politicians will come there, that we can force them to do something. So welcome next January, 15 something, travel without flying Helsinki. I'm just showing this, like if you want to do some change, what do you feel, what is important in your own life, just do it. And then gather people who are like-minded next to you and then start do things. Things might happen in the big scale someday. Okay, that's about the sustainable stuff. I wanted to say this before this storytelling part because for all of us it's pretty hard to understand the scale of everything. Like where this carbon footprint comes, what this kind of sustainable word means. So once we have an understanding of something, then we can start to tell the stories. Once we start to build campaigning, we have clients as I showed you before, lots of different kind of clients. First, you need to tell the story, of course, of what you're doing. But I think there are a few things what I wanted to point out. Like, for example, this traveling fair without flying. Test everything what you're having in mind. Don't try to make anything in big scale in the first place. Test everything. If you have a good idea, make it with this size of event or even smaller sometimes. Testing means also testing the idea with your friends. But then also, you need to know who is the person who we are testing with. If you trust this person, if the person has enough information and understand who do you talk to, then you can test. Another is like once you start to have any kind of campaign idea or any event idea, you should have an opinion. Years ago, companies didn't have any opinion about anything, of course. They were just serving the clients, doing whatever for money. And pretty much nowadays, creative agencies and marketing agencies still don't have any opinion. They're just serving. And this is sad. This is super sad. Creatives are just followers, not the leaders. But this is changing also. But you should have an opinion. You should have, you personally, you have an opinion. So also, if you're running a project, say something. Don't be afraid. And next one, be real and honest. I don't know who are in the audience, but probably some of you guys are pretty good with your social media channels. And you know that this is the number one rule. And you need to be honest. You need to be personal. We know what's happening in social media. And what kind of, in Twitter, if you're under company profile, no use. You need to be personal. In Instagram, same thing. In Facebook, it's not there yet, but Facebook is facing another kind of problems. And also and the bloggers, we love YouTubers, we love bloggers because they're personal. And we especially love them if they're honest and they're real. And this is also different companies and brands are also super important. Like, especially these days, when everyone is facing a lot of problems related on the sustainable issues, for example. And there's no players, no companies who are 100% good. So say that. If you fail, say that. If you don't know something, say that also. I mean, people respect that, honesty. Collaboration, super important thing. We don't have any project which we have only one client, I think. Or we might have some, but not really. I mean, we always have multiple players in, because nowadays you need to bring people together. Like, collaboration is the key. You need sometimes NGOs, sometimes companies, sometimes you need like 3 different kind of freelancers. And also do collaboration between different kind of professionals. Those ages are over when it's enough, like you just go to the seminars where all the same professionals are in. Like, if you're an architect, don't go to the seminars with architects only. Go with the food lovers. Or if you're a musician, don't stay with the musicians. Go to the, with the philosophers. Or whatever. I mean, this cross-border thinking is super important right now. And that's what all kind of, at least creative universities are thinking now, how to help those guys. I'm also teaching in University of Arts in Aalto. Sometimes, these guys, and that's kind of my main message, is I want to help them to get out from that school as soon as possible. Because, I mean, there are a lot of creative talents, they have really good teachers there, and they find really good networks there. But one thing what they can't find is the latest knowledge. And latest knowledge is online every day. You need to follow blogs, YouTubers, different kinds of influencers, different kinds of news channels. You need to follow that you will be the professional. Like before this traveling fair, I didn't know anything about really traveling. I knew something about these carbon footprints. But because of this fair, I started to follow lots of different kinds of traveling experts around the world. After 1 month, I gave a lecture about future of traveling, me. I didn't know almost anything, and my audience was like professionals from the traveling, be studying that like 10 years or something. I felt really bad about it, and I said that to them, like, you know probably way more than me with a lot of things, but I know what is happening now. And what is happening now is what matters. And then tell stories, because these are so hard things to understand. You need to tell stories. And you can compare, I mean, what is story anyway? I mean, you compare if you have a brochure of something like this department store. You have the fact sheet, you know the numbers, how many people are here, where is this, what the place looks like. And then you have a story of someone who is here. Let's say, it could be somewhere in the magazine, some human-centric story of someone. Which one you choose? Of course, you read the story, it's more interesting. But probably you might have the same information from there. Build partnerships is kind of the same thing than a collaboration. This partnership building is, I think, this is mainly more to the people who do these things in a professional field. If you need to take your salary out from here. If you're running an agency or working in an agency, you need to know a lot of people nowadays and try to find the right ones. And these like build partnerships is somehow also like, okay, why I'm actually here in St. Petersburg to meet people, because I don't know too many people, and my mission is to build better connections between Helsinki and St. Petersburg, because we are neighbors and we should know better, especially in the creative sectors. But build partnerships, I think what is important also is not, you don't need to meet everyone. It's impossible. Like last years, if you're in some business channels like LinkedIn or reading some B2B channels, or if you're running around different events, everyone is saying to you that give your business card to anyone. Okay, you can do it, but I think give the right ones. Because you need to recognize the people who you do want to work with. I think I want to work with the people who have the same mission. I mean, if we want to change this world or this society in a better level, in the right direction, then I'm with you guys. But if you have some other mission, well, maybe I'm not good for you then, and have a nice day. but I think you need to find the right ones. And okay, how to build the story? There's not really like one way how to do it. And maybe there's some journalists here or professional writers, and there are some few rules what everyone is kind of sharing. Like for example, if you have a story, in the first 3 sentences should be everything said. If there is in 4, there's too much stuff in it. Be clear, not too many points. That's one. But to simplify, this is not the whole thing, but just to say you something about this. Normally when you have a story, you have some people in it, or you can have some animals in it also maybe, but I think someone who is living object. And they probably want something, and they might have some kind of difficulties, and after that they decide what to do, and then they undergo a change, and then you always need to have some kind of ending in it. I think it's simple. Storylines. I mean, stories go everywhere. Once you give a presentation, I don't really have a good storyline, by the way. In my presentation, I should have. But if you give a presentations, build the storylines. If you write a blog, you need it. In a social media channels, you need it. If you want to explain people something difficult through the storytelling. And once you have the story, I think these are the few steps what you could use. Identify community and tell stories. Identify the community means you need to understand who do you talk to. I'm not identifying my community right now because I don't know who you are. If I know you better, I would tell you the story that is really good for you. If I am telling someone, like a really good friend of mine, it's always a way easier, as you know. And if you have more people who have no idea who they are, it's also a lot harder. So if you're running a massive blog, I mean, you have, like, let's say, tens of thousands of followers, you have no chance. But if you are building an event, try to get all the knowledge what is possible from the people. Then you can exactly answer the questions what they are having in mind. That's super important. Know your people. Know your community. Know what they need and what they want. And tell the story in a way that they will understand. And then choose the right storytelling. This is important also, like how you tell your story. There was another video I was supposed to show now, but I'm not because of the laptop issue. Like you need to find a way what kind of tone of voice you are using. Because you can be funny, you can be serious, you can be really diplomatic in a way sometimes. But you need to define that. Super important. Because there are different kinds of people who are facing you. And you need to talk to the people in a way that they want to listen to you. We are doing that actually every day. Even we never noticed about it. You're doing it with your boyfriends, girlfriends, fathers, husbands, kids, grandmothers, whoever, because you know them. And you use different kind of stories for them because they will understand it different way. Find the right messengers, super important thing. Messengers are like people who you work with, or they're people who are like-minded, who are supporting you. And like I showed this Samuji, the fashion brand thing, they have a lot of messengers right now. Because the first, they didn't know that they had so many, but now they know because everyone gave them money. If you really give money to some company, you are pretty tight. You have pretty tight connection to the brand, and they have a lot of messengers. And I think that's also like if you can find your messengers, then you are in a good position. But you need to treat your messengers in the right way. Pair stories with a clear call to action. Call to action means that often you need to help people to do something after you have told your story. Like I'm introducing, for example, like some new idea here, and then the idea is here. Then I'm asking you to join me, and then I need to give you like few examples what you can do. Share this post, give your time, give your professional time, give me money for this. I mean, whatever. Call to action means help people to do things. Movie industry is actually changing right now. in a really interesting way. Maybe you heard this thing called impact producing, because there are always producers in the films, like they're producing films, but then nowadays they have impact producers. They're doing the impact part of it. So they are building the communities, they have negotiations with the companies, with the NGOs, different influencers. They're also helping people to be part of the film before the filming, during the filming, and after the filming. So impact of the film will be massive. So this impact producing is now growing a lot. And they really know what this call to action means. They have lots of calls to action to people. And this is especially happening in documentary film, but also fiction industry is moving towards this. Maybe you have seen it, some kinds of these samples when you're like, whatever films you're looking at. But this impact producing is something also what the cities are thinking now, because they want to involve citizens. But like Helsinki City actually hired, I think, 6 people to do these things. They are only contacting people all the time. And like if I have anything in my mind, I will ask them and they will try to find the solution. And when they are having these guys, that also saves time of another people who are working for the city. So impact producers are coming. Impact producers are in the film industry, they are in the marketing industry, they are in the cities now. I don't know where next. Find a storyteller, and who is telling your stories is kind of the same thing than the messengers. And also, kind of, if you're building these collaborations, once you have kind of, let's say, you have building your campaign, you have the story, you have the pictures, you have the videos, and then you want that everyone will see it. Try to think what makes this easy to share. What we do normally is like we download everything from behind the one link. We give clear instructions, 5 things, do this, here you are. And then companies or NGOs or institutions or who they are, and they're super happy about this because they get free marketing all the time. Oh, that's nice. Okay, we can share it. We do this, 4 things. And they do it in the right way because we give them super clear instructions. So help different players to share your message is important. Find a strategic governor. Okay, this means you need money in the end of the day. You need someone who is paying the bills. And it's a hard thing to handle because, for example, for us, we work in few different ways. We have a project that we don't have any money. We just want to do it. We can do it because we can do it branding ourselves. Like, we know how to do it. And it doesn't cost a thing for us, only time would cost us. So we can do the branding, and so it's easier to sell some companies or cities or NGOs. Of course, we have like normal clients who are really paying the bills also. But then I think that's something what, I mean, once you start to work with the companies or with the NGOs, this is super professional stuff. I don't know, are you interested at this? But then you need to find the common language between different players, which is the hardest part. Because companies don't understand what the public sector guys like NGOs are talking about, and NGOs are hating what the companies are doing because they are doing whatever for money. So they can't find a common ground. So here where creatives are coming, we are in the middle, we are matchmakers. We are helping those companies to understand you need these NGOs because they have the knowledge, they have the heart. I mean, they have a massive community, what you don't have. And then NGOs, we need to kind of help them to understand that companies are not necessarily bad boys always. There might be good people around there, and they have a lot of knowledge what you don't have. And they know how to do marketing properly. You don't know, you have no idea how to do it. And then they might have money. Talking about target groups a bit, like once you start to tell your stories or building marketing, you need to understand who do you talk to. So normally when we're talking about target groups, we think there are men, and then there are women, there are girls, and then there are boys, and then there are people who live in Moscow and who live in St. Petersburg or in Berlin or whoever. And they are 15 or 51. So age, location, and gender. These are the easiest ones normally. That's true. You need to use that, but that's not the whole truth. Like, for example, this traveling without a flying fare, we were like thinking who is coming. Of course we were thinking and all young people are coming. Well, they came, but a lot of old people came. A lot of middle-aged people came. I mean, all ages came. But they have the same mission. They have the same value. That's the key. I mean, nowadays I think you need to cross-border check what kind of values people are having. They might be in different ages. They might be in different parts of the world. Don't care. But also it's about gender, it's about age. This is one example, like, for example, who is selling to whom. I mean, for example, if I have a daughter in this age, it's not her, but it's same age, 14, and she loves organic cosmetics, and she knows a lot of it. And I know quite a lot also because it's part of my work, but she knows even more. But she's been selling that to me for many years already, to buy this and this to me, and it's pretty expensive. But because it's my daughter, of course I'm buying it, because she needs it. I can, poison myself easily, but I'm not gonna do that for her. So it's non-direct messaging. Like if you want to reach someone, think who might be actually the target group instead of you, instead of that person you were thinking in the first place. So in this case, they were targeting to my daughter and got the money from the father. Or my mother is in this age and she's living by herself, 100 kilometers away from where do I live, and we're thinking what to do because she's living in a big house. I used to live in communal houses for most of my life. I really love the way how to live in that way, and I was suggesting her, maybe you should take some people in your house. Of course she's not doing it because she thinks it's like for young people who are drinking too much and too noisy and it's like dirty and everything. But and she don't hear these messages because she's not in Facebook or not in any social media channel, and the attitude is different than I have. But because I've been selling the idea to her, she starts to believe it a bit. Okay, I'm listening to you. And then I think that's what is happening right now, because all the middle-aged guys and are kind of, we are responsible of our parents now, mainly. We should be, at least. And so there are a lot of messages coming to me what is related to my 84-year-old mother. And then when it comes to the grandchildren, it's like my mother might think like this Arto is quite okay, but he makes mistakes in his life. But the daughter doesn't make a single mistake. She's an angel, she's marvelous. So when it goes one generation over, then everything is super nice. This is interesting thing, by the way. But think about this, like once you want to reach someone, I think communities are important. Who do you listen? What your friends are saying? Who do you live with? And then we come to this climate generation. I mean, as we know, young people being having been pretty active lately, finally, last 2 years. And why? Because I mean, young guys was born in this society when we've been destroying the planet. And for example, now when I'm teaching in Aalto, I was surprised like a year ago with those young guys. They are around 23 to 28, I think, designers. They are super aggressive now. I was quite surprised. We started the last course 3 weeks ago, but they were aggressive in a good way, and because they really want to do things. And there's one video what I'm not going to show you, and another one what I'm not going to show you, but this one I can show you. What is happening in the advertising industry right now? In Helsinki there's an event called Tubegon. It's a quite big one. It's made for YouTubers. Biggest in Northern Europe, is spreading around every country right now. It's a super interesting festival. There are kids from 10 years to 24, so it's like big gap. But as you know, the YouTubers are really, I mean, they have a massive audience, they have big channels. And then they also have an event called Industry Day. And Industry Day is when the adults are talking to adults how young people are using internet, basically. But it's made for professionals. And there were a couple of people from different media agencies, they were telling stories, like young people can concentrate only 1 second per one social media channel. Or, that they can't concentrate only short moment on, they can't really understand deeply what they want to see or hear. We hear this everywhere now, but this wise Nordic president jumped to the stage and he said, this is bullshit. Don't believe what these people are saying. Because, if they made a documentary of, let's say, 30 minutes, but if the documentary, if there is a point, if there is a story, for example, from Middle East, what happened in the Middle East right now, what is happening in the world right now, they have massive audience. And he said, if you make a content for the buy lemonade, 8 seconds is enough. It's about content, it's about stories, it's not about how old you are. And I could say, like we are working a lot with the young people with different projects. We are learning a lot from them. That's why actually we do them. Well, of course, we want to help them, but that's another thing. We want to work with them because for us, it's so valuable information we get from them all the time. This is also something what I actually mentioned before. You don't really need an education to be a teacher. I never even went to high school. I ran away from my home when I was a young boy. I moved to the other part of the world, but I'm teaching now in universities. And why is I think, of course, I'm not saying education is not important. Of course, it's super important. I'm a big fan of education in all levels. But then, don't stop learning. And you need to, whatever is interests you, you need to follow everything, as I said before. And that's what I'm saying to these young guys who are working with us. And what is happening in the social media in general, maybe you know this, Jack Harris. This is a screenshot from maybe last spring or something. Then he had 4 million subscribers in his channel. But as I said, these students are becoming more aggressive, so are influencers. So this guy used to be a normal YouTube star before, but then he, as his brother, started to do some real action. And he also studied quite a lot what is related to the climate issues. And then he started to use his tone of voice, his media, his skills for storytelling, which were pretty good, to new kind of audiences. And I think these guys are also super interesting to follow. Another thing what we are thinking with this Tubecon, this event what I mentioned, and we want to help also different influencers to understand, because there are a lot of bloggers, Instagram influencers or whoever, YouTube stars, who are doing the good thing. But then there's a way more who are talking, doesn't exactly know what they're talking about. There might be a lot of misinformation, and they just want to do some nice things. But they're sharing the knowledge, but doesn't really, it's not exactly right. But it's not their fault necessarily. They just don't know. So I think it's important, what we've been talking about is we want to also to help them, because they are media. They know how to tell the stories. So we need to help them that they have all the facts right. Well, there are a lot of guys. That's just a few samples. I don't know what kind of people you're following in different channels. It's just from Instagram guys, but this is also interesting to. I'm following different kind of influencers, because it's not only from learning what they are saying, but also learning how do they say. Because probably they have done something pretty right if you have 300,000 followers in your account. That's quite a lot. Why? Maybe this guy, because he's photojournalist of National Geographic, maybe that helps a bit. But then some other guys who are not having any media support, they're doing something super well. So I think it's just interesting to follow how they're telling their stories. And then you have people from here. I just got it from one friend of mine, and she's Russian. And she said, okay, these are the guys what she's following. I don't know, are you following them? But I checked them, and they are interesting. I don't understand, of course, anything, but they, I mean, at least I understand the pictures and kind of the context. And she was kind of translating some parts of what they say to me, but they are pretty much, I mean, they are not only people who are, I mean, even then they are not only talking about climate issues. It's quite often related to human rights issues at the same time, so you cannot really separate those two. And then there is going to be one film, what I can show you after this. This is also one thing what we are saying to those young guys, like if you only want to be liked, there's nothing interesting at you. And this is what is so true. And I'm struggling with this quite often because I'm posting different kind of opinions everywhere. I'm not trying, I don't want to be nasty. I don't want to be, I don't want to be pointing anyone. But sometimes I need to be honest. Well, always I need to be honest. But always, if you have an opinion, something or someone is against you, and it's not the easy thing. How you can start to argue with someone, or not to argue with someone? How you can reply in a way like conversation starts? I think the main thing is listening, and you can listen to that person. And in social media, of course, you need to think first: is that a real person or not? Is a bot? Or is a real human being? If you know the person, then it's a different thing. If you don't know, then you need to check. If you know, then you, of course, to listen first, try to understand why this person have this kind of opinion, which doesn't necessarily are the same than I am having, and maybe I can learn something from there. And sometimes when I'm in a trains or somewhere traveling, and I have like some time to kill, I know it sounds stupid. But what I do, I go to some main news channels in Finland, Helsingin Sanomat or a national broadcasting channel or whatever. They chat in Facebook mainly, sometimes in Instagram. I just go there and follow. If there's related to climate or related to human rights stuff, there are lots of people shouting there always. So I'm going there commenting. But it's so tough. If you spend 1 hour commenting and not arguing, it takes a lot of nerves. But I know that I know quite a lot of facts on these things, so I can try to comment based on facts. But sometimes if I don't know, I'm checking it, I'm asking people, tagging people, and pretty often it goes in a way, like if I'm in a part of the conversation, and if I'm behaving well, they might be shouting 2 times again, then they finish, they are gone. Or sometimes, actually, we might have a discussion. Try it sometimes. You might learn something. But this is important, and be ready for this. If you're going to say something, someone is going to say something against you, and don't take things personally. Because normally they are not personal issues. People are afraid of something. They're afraid of change. They have different kind of opinions based on something what you don't know, for example. But this is something for all social media people who are working there, so maybe you know this already. I don't want to show... Wait. Sorry. There is one video I want to explain that you can check that, because I can't show it. It was supposed to be here. Yeah, there's no screen. There is a lady called Roxanne Gay, G-A-Y. She's one of the most well-known feminists in the world. She wrote a book called Bad Feminists. I don't know, do you know that? But I mean, highly recommend on that. Because the book was about like why she's a bad feminist. And it's about this. There is, I can send you a link later on some channel if you follow, maybe some Facebook event or something. It's one discussion when someone was asking her, like, what is important if you want to make things what matters. It's so beautiful answer what she's giving. I'm not going to tell it here because I can't say it in so well. But I will send a link later on. It's supposed to be after this. Anyway, I think, what time is it? Do I still have time? Yes. I think before we can actually talk a bit more about these things, this is basically what I have said is here. But few things what I want to say at the end. It's like, as you can see, it's 300 kilometers. And I think, I don't know how many you have been in Helsinki, and definitely more people from Helsinki should be here. And it's going to change because of the visa issues are going to changing and everything. But I think the problem here is like I think we should build better partnerships in both countries. And I'm not talking about only in Finland, but also Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, because we are pretty much connected, all Nordic countries. But there's something going on in the border, but we don't really know each other, which is weird. Please do join this. Kind of think if there is something in your mind what might work in Finland, or if you have anything in mind what from Helsinki or from Nordic capitals could bring here. I think there are a lot of people who wants to help you here. And what we are going to do in the future, we have one plan, which is not ready yet, but I'm going to say it here, if someone is interested. We are thinking to build like series of events in somewhere in St. Petersburg related to sustainable brands. Because I think there are a lot of knowledge behind fashion industry, food industry, and travel industry, what we might bring. And there are a lot of knowledge what we would love to learn from you guys from here. And only the problem is like we don't know each other. So what we are going to do, we're going to build 3 events in the near future, I think during next year, and with the different themes. The first theme is going to relate to fashion, and I already talked to these guys and they are coming, if we can find the time, and plus some others. They are like Pure Waste. It's a super interesting brand from Finland. They are producing fabrics from the waste. So all the jeans and t-shirts and everything is 100% recycled. Or Vigos is maybe one of the biggest online sustainable design markets right now. Or Aalto University fashion designers are super excited to come here. I was yesterday in one fashion show here, and it looks really, design-wise, really interesting. I think there are lots of people, a lot of talents would be super valuable also for our designers from Aalto. And then I mentioned already Lovia, and those guys would love to come here. And the purpose for this event is also to get to know each other, share the knowledge, what we have, we have, but especially the matchmaking thing, the people will really meet each other. So this is going to happen. The fashion thing first, probably food will follow. And food is interesting because it related to food. There's food waste is the one issue, of course. Then there is a lot of things like what kind of food you are eating, how much you know from your food or different materials, different brands. And probably the traveling and tourism will come in the last point. And this is my information. Please contact me if you have anything in mind. I'm happy to help you. Thank you. But I would love to hear if you have, I hope you understood anything what I said. If you have any questions, I can post the videos actually later on what I had there. A few really interesting ones, what I couldn't show. Maybe to the Facebook event. But please do ask questions if you have any.
Если нужна помощь перевести вопросы, я могу перевести.
Hi, hello. First of all, thank you for the interesting lecture. I don't know if it was a lecture actually. I have a question. I'm really curious. What do you personally do in terms of this social or environmental impact? Like you mentioned some things, but just to know what we can do also maybe.
You mean in my own personal life, or? I
mean, for example, I don't know, not eating meat or something like that. Something yes. You can do, or every person can do.
Yes, I highly believe that you need to. I'm not trying to lecture people, my friends or families or whoever. How do I live? Because people hate that, and we all hate that. But I'm just trying to live my life in a way that I can respect myself. Okay, I've been, well, vegetarian 16, 17 years, something, vegan now 3 years, except when I'm traveling. Yesterday night I was only vegetarian. Sometimes it's too hard. Then I had this traveling thing. I'm trying to fly less. Last time I was flying a year ago. I might fly after 2 months once. But if I need to fly, I'm trying to package everything in the one. If I need to fly because of the work, if I have some places to visit, I'm trying to package everything the same, that I don't need to fly too much. But I'm going to fly for sure. I'm not going to stop that because I want to go outside of Europe sometimes. Then I live next to my workplace. I'm living in Helsinki downtown, and my studio is there, and my daughter's school is there, and kind of we never had a car. I had a license, but I drove last time maybe 5 years ago. I'm using taxi if I need a car. I hate driving, and I don't really need to drive. If I'm going somewhere abroad, I just take a cabs. It's easier for me. Okay, I can still drive. I'm a super bad driver. That's another reason. But anyway, I don't need a car, and that's easier for me. And I've been building my life on that. So everything is kind of in the same package. I used to live, as I said, in communal living. I really like the way, like we had a really massive apartment before, and we have like own apartments. But then we have a lot of like communal space. And that's something what is really coming out in Helsinki, is booming up. Like people want to share spaces, not only co-working way, but also co-living way. Because I think it's like this 14-year-old daughter, she used to be quite shy before. But she was forced to meet a lot of people all the time because a lot of dinners in our place. So she get to know a lot of people, and she's pretty social nowadays. So I think it's also for kids and for families, it's a beautiful way to live. And also in the future, I hope if I have a dream like I could live in the future in a way like also my mother could be there somehow. Or I think that's a super important thing in all societies. Like in Helsinki, the decision makers or city guys, they're thinking how to help because we have a lot of elderly people who are alone, they're dying alone. They don't have no one. And it's also a super expensive thing for the government. So they're thinking how to do this, how to change the way, how do we live. And there's one really beautiful thing what they're building now. There's one building owned by city where young people are living and old people are living. And young people pay less rent if they hang around with the old people. So it's good for the students, good for the old people, everyone wins. So communal living I think is something, I'm not living in that way anymore. Not last 2 years, but maybe in the future. What else? I'm trying to, this fashion issue is hard because I don't know anything, as you don't. So I think that's what I want to work with, that we all could know someday, somehow. And also what I do, my work is my passion and it's part of my life, and kind of to build better connections between people and better networks between people. I highly believe in that, and I'm doing these teaching things in Aalto and everywhere, basically almost for free, because I just want to be with the young guys. I want to help them to go further. I want to give all the networks I have, because I'm using my networks. I want to give that to them, because I can see everyone wins if they have more power in the society.
Thanks. These things you mentioned are really cool and important. So I hope that we'll have like same trends soon here as well. Thank you.
But what do you think about here, like in St. Petersburg? How this sounds like? What's happening here, in your opinion?
Well, I think that it's getting better, but comparing maybe to European countries and to Helsinki, it's still like very behind, I would say. But we still have some good things happening, like, I don't know, for example, before coming here, I brought like a huge bag of my old clothes to recycling. And I think the fact that I can do it, it's really cool. And it's just happened like recently, in recent years. Before I didn't know about this opportunity. So there are some things that are happening and they are getting better. But we still, I think, have a lot of things to improve in that way.
But you have a lot of creative power here. I was also yesterday in a in Street Art Museum art fair opening. I just saw amazing stuff there. I mean, amazing artists, lots of creativity. You have lots of power here. And that's why it's so important kind of to aim the creativity in the right direction, in a way.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think we have a great potential.
Anyone else?
Hi, thank you for this story. Can you give some example how exactly you use this storytelling in your projects, in your work? Some examples.
Okay, I can. Maybe the hardest example could be always the best one. For example, this Middle Eastern thing, this Iraq and Afghanistan thing. The main point was like we wanted to, the Foreign Minister of Finland wanted to help young people to raise up the issue of peace in their everyday life. So what we needed to do there is we wanted them to understand what we are doing. That's kind of course, the first thing. What is our mission? And you can trust on us. And so the first thing we needed to find the word. That was salam, is the name of the thing. Salam should mean something in Arabic and also in Dari, in Afghanistan. So they need to understand the title. And then the story, like why we are inviting them and what is good for them. And they can trust what we do. There should be enough information in it. And then we should kind of be lots of, like, we need to tell the story in a way that you have a time to read it, that it can't be boring. And then also in this case and in so many other cases, we need to also understand that we don't know everything. We are here, we are storytellers, and we are matchmakers, we are developers, we are concept builders, but we don't know everything. We can't do that. And if we think we do, and we fail heavily. So that's why, for example, in Erbil in Kurdistan, we ran the project. Our local producers and local NGOs who were working with the crew, and they also learned a lot of things from them. So we updated the story all the time, and we can go in the right direction. And I think that's also the case for so many other campaigns. You can have a scratch of something. You can have the first phase. But once you go forward, you probably need to change that because you hear people what they say. And you need to update your content, maybe the story, and probably sometimes even the things, videos, pictures you shoot. You need to do it in a different way. Or change advertising, how you target your audiences, what kind of advertising you're buying. That's kind of the second level. Was that your answer? I hope. Okay.
Hello. First of all, thank you very much for sharing your ideas. So my question is really goes beyond the topic. So what was the biggest problems you faced when you decide to run a business and become entrepreneur?
Good question, because I was in advertising a long time, and I understood that my life was super easy in a way. There was no problem with my agencies and my CEOs. I have a really good relations there and everything. So biggest problem what was the change itself. Like if I'm going to resign myself, I mean I will lose my salary. I don't know, can I find any clients? If I'm having this kind of business idea that I will say no to some clients, I need to understand that this is not a gold mine. And so massive risks. I think that's the biggest challenge always. Afraid of taking risks. Once you take the risk, then I mean you can solve everything. And then I was really bad with the money at the first place. I never thought I'm going to be an entrepreneur because my father was an entrepreneur. And I saw that. It wasn't easy life. And then normally when you hear the stories of entrepreneurship, it's always like you have a drinking problem or your family have left you or you don't never sleep, you know holidays. It's like all the negative stories. So that's another thing. But then I just needed to work. I resigned, I didn't hire anyone, but I had 2 clients already. I made some stuff for them. Then I thought, okay, I need to send a bill. Okay, how this works? I called to one company who is doing bookkeeping and I asked them help. I met them and then actually I need to build a company now. So I went to officers of Helsinki city business site and then they helped me out and here I am. I mean, running a business is not that's the easiest case. I don't know how it works here, but I think that's normally not the problem. The problem is to find a business idea and also to find the right attitude. The business idea is the case, like if you think what kind of business you're going to run, think, is it unique? Who else is doing it? And if someone else is doing it, check it out. Are they doing okay or not? If they're doing okay, think what they have done right. And some people have failed, check why. Don't do the same mistakes. And then if you have really unique position, then you are really winning. I think these things in Finland are no one doing, but I mean in Sweden already there are several agencies, in UK and States way more. I mean like this impact based creative agencies.
Thank you. And can I ask another question? Had you been inspired of someone or it was just your ideas?
Many of people. I mean, it's always like some people ask like who do you follow? I think I can't say one person because I meet a lot of people all the time and my energy comes from there because I think that's what I want to keep. If there's one thing what I really want to keep in my professional life, I need to remember is that I need to listen because I talk a lot. So I need to remember I need to listen because then I don't have anything to say if I don't learn. And I'm learning when I'm listening. So I think that's something when you meet people, listen to them, ask questions, be a journalist in your life in a way. When you meet people, think about these questions what you want to know from that person. Because we can learn from all of us, I think.
Thank you.
A lot of questions. Different than Helsinki, no one says anything.
Hello, I have a question about the fashion. So, as you know, it's getting cold here in Russia. And for example, I want to buy a sweater. But if I buy a wool sweater, it would be unethical because as far as I know, they shave sheep very cruel way. And so I need to buy a synthetic sweater, but it would be bad for environment. What do you think? What should I choose? Thank you.
Yeah, this is a difficult question. I know, like my friends who are working in the sustainable fashion side, they say the same story. Of course, you need to. It's better to use recycled fuels, of course. Once it's there, use it. Personal, in my opinion, is like I wouldn't because I think that's just my personal opinion. I wouldn't because I think I just give a sign to outsiders that I'm kind of supporting this. They don't know it's new or old. But I'm not judging anyone. I think it's also like as long as you wear something as long as possible, that's good. There's one cool campaign idea we had once. We never did it, but it's a really cool idea. It's like count how many years you are wearing. Like when you bought your shirt or your shoes or your pants. And if you have 100 years, you're a winner. If you have 1 year, you're losing. You have 1 month, terrible. And I mean, think about it. And that's something I think the youngsters right now are thinking a lot. And few fashion guys, what I've been talking with this issue lately, everyone is saying that fashion industry moving towards second-hand, of course, but also like that matters how long you will wear something. And probably I hope pretty soon there will be a day like there is a value for the fabrics and your clothes also when you're selling it. Like cars are having it, but clothes don't have it. There's one super interesting app, by the way. It's called GEM, G-E-M. Download it. They released it in, I think 2 weeks ago. It's quite new. There's a Finnish lady called Liisa Jokinen. She's a fashion blogger, but living in the States. And they release it from there. And it's kind of basically a search engine. And it's searching all the vintage markets, websites around the world. And I don't know which countries it's working. I'm not sure does it work here, but at least you can check what it's about. It's really interesting because it's kind of online shop. And they have amazing stuff in it because they have a lot of online markets there. But also they have stories. The stories are like how you can take care of your fabrics, how to wash them or not to wash them, and how to take care of your clothes that they will last longer time. Sorry, really long answer about the question. Anyway,
Thank you.
Interesting topic.
Thank you for coming. If I'm not mistaken, you said that your mission, or one of your mission, is make connect between St. Petersburg and Helsinki. My question is, what's your main problem in this way? Is it government or lazy people or economics aspects or something else?
I don't know actually yet. I think there might be, I think there are a lot of, I'm maybe explaining first what are the problems with within the Nordic countries. In Stockholm, in Helsinki, in Copenhagen, in Oslo, we have the same problem really. We don't really have good connections between creative people, which is super surprising. And now we are building it now. And especially between Finland and Sweden is a lot of action going on now. And a lot of people are traveling between these two cities, which is super promising, and I love it. I think one is not a problem, but one thing what we need to keep in mind is our cultures are a bit different. If I compare the Sweden and Finland, it's almost the same. There are differences, but we are pretty close. But Russian and Finnish culture have a lot of differences. So we need to understand the differences of Finland and Russia. And I think that's one thing. Understanding on this, and also also the businesses, how the businesses can be run here, or how you can run your business here, or how you can operate here, or how you can operate in Finland, how Russians know how to work in Finland, because we have also a really strange way to work sometimes. But anyway, I think kind of like how we can build understanding of differences maybe is one. But I think we can win all of this. It's not a problem. We just need to find the people. I think it's about people, basically. And if you want to do something, we can just do it. And then, of course, in the big scale, if you want to build like a really massive cooperation models, that we need decision makers, we need city people here. And I have met people from St. Petersburg city, quite many, and they are really looking forward on this, to build better connections in the Helsinki, and especially from Helsinki are really looking to St. Petersburg now. Also in the city level, I can see super positive signs. So I think there are a lot of people who are thinking about this now. But I mean, I think what I want to do is not only the wait the decision makers, that they have make some kind of upper level programs which will happen after 5 years. But I think all the creatives, like normal people like we are, we can start to work. I mean, that's all. And maybe based on our ideas, we can change some maybe like structures in the city level. Probably. Let's see. We can at least try.
For example, what you don't understand in Russian mentally? Maybe you have example when Russian guys do something and you don't understand why. You do this?
Well, first of all, I need to understand the language, I think. I think that's the key. I don't understand anything. I can say one word, so I think I can't really say anything. I think one thing is, what is interesting here is, like eastern part of Finland is acting a bit the same way. They are more social. I mean, for example, it's really hard to get Finnish homes. People don't really, I mean, we're so shy and don't say anything to anyone. But if you go to Karelia, it's totally different already. And it's kind of culture-wise, is closer to Russian. And I think that's something also what differentiates the people. But I don't really know. I mean, there are a lot of things I can see that people from different ages also acting here different way, like in Finland also. And also St. Petersburg is not Russia. as a thought. I've been only in St. Petersburg, never in Moscow. I would love to go, but nowhere else. I mean, it's a massive country, so it's the question we could talk about maybe a week, like what might be the differences. I'm learning. I'm in a learning mode, so I don't really know yet. In Helsinki. Yes, you mean kind of circle economy? Yes. Yeah, it's actually it's yes. This a few examples. First of all, when you start to think about packaging, it's not always bad. I mean, sometimes packaging is really saving a lot if it's well done, because a package. I mean, packages are made. For example, you can have less food waste if you package something well. That's something what people are kind of criticizing packaging always. It's not, I mean, no use. I mean, not all packages are bad. Quite many of them really need them. That we will save our food or our whatever we buy. Of course, on the other hand, there are packages like you put a plastic with bananas, for example, which is so stupid because there are packaged already in the fruit. But what is coming to the packaging, I think, in different stores, like they renewed the law, I think, actually a year ago. Like once you buy clothes, you need to ask always, do you want a plastic bag? Otherwise, they're not giving it to you. So people don't really buy plastic bags anymore. But then when you start to talk about plastic bags, you need to also understand about cotton. Because if you have one bag of cotton, you need to use that plastic bags maybe, I don't know how many, 20, 30, 40 times. Because the cotton sucking out the water. And that's not always, I mean, if you have a lot of cotton bags, that's not either good. Recycled plastic is pretty good solution for this. And also the cotton, if you are using it for a long time. Again, this like if you're using something a long time is a kind of answer for this. And there is also in a food level, in restaurant level, there's one super interesting restaurant. If you never visit Helsinki, go to a restaurant called Nolla, N-O-L-L-A. It means zero. It's a zero waste restaurant, but not in a normal way. Because normally you have kind of like food waste based restaurants. We have one of them also, but it's average level. But this Nolla is high quality place. They is super good. But what they do, they use everything from the kitchen. So there's no waste from the restaurant. And what they also do, okay, there's some waste. And if they have something what they can't use, they have composter in the middle of the restaurant, and which compost everything on the ground in 24 hours. And they get ground out of there and they give it to the neighbors. That's pretty beautiful also. And they have a system in the cash machine that they know every day if you go and ask them like how many kilograms or grams they're using each material and how much leftovers or waste they had. And they're improving it all the time. So it's like a laboratory, and the science guys and restaurants owner, the full lovers in the same spot, and it looks really nice. And they're kind of educating the customers like easy way all the time. That's an interesting experience. But it's coming. It's coming actually everywhere. And I think what is really important is, I just had a really interesting discussion in the social media today, this morning. You know, design brand called Muji? Someone knows? Muji is for Japanese design. It's one of the biggest ones in the world. And the Muji, their main idea is kind of non-brand things. They don't, I mean, it's simple things. And they have beautiful idea behind the brand. And they are going to build one of the biggest stores right now in Helsinki. And everyone loves them because of this. But then I just asked the question, like sometimes even if you have something recycled or something like some brand or some items which is like well made, even then if you buy them too many of them, I mean it's no use. If you just buy something recycled what you don't really need, and don't buy it, don't buy anything. I mean this should be something what you need and what will last. These two things. So again, sorry, long answer about this question, but it's not so simple because this recycling thing and packaging is kind of people, again, we are really kind of defining what that really means and how we should package something and what kind of materials we are using. And this plastic issue is one, like this plastic straws is being a big topic everywhere. But it's also been kind of a greenwashing element. Like people are thinking, are you using plastic straws? And then you're buying burger with a meat. I mean, the plastic straw is nothing compared to the meat. Okay, it's nice that you are not using plastic at this case, but sometimes it's just a small element in the big scale.
Hi. Arto, I'm listening to you and I have in my mind this idea that it always depends how much money people earn. Because if they don't have money, they don't travel, so okay. If they don't have money, they don't buy a lot of clothes and they go to second-hand, not because they think about environment and something, but just because they don't have money. So for poor people, sometimes it's easy to follow these ideas. But why I'm talking that now in Russia it's like there are not a lot of people that they have a high middle level of living. So, and in Finland it's different and it's a more stable life, and so when you feel that you are fine, so okay, you start to think about these questions. But when we talk about middle family in Russia, when they have to survive, and sometimes they just want to relax and don't think, and just yes, maybe 2 times of a year traveling and just to enjoy a little bit of shopping or something like that. So it's what do you think about this, and how it's this connection about money and these ideas?
Really good question. You're in a core now. I think this is so important because it's around the world. It's the same problem. I think, well, several answers. One is we've been supporting. We are supporting with the taxes the lifestyle. We doesn't support the climate. So, for example, with the taxes, with the flying, with the taxes, with the meat industry, with the dairy industry. So it's everything in that size too cheap, and other size too expensive. So, and we've been supporting mass production. So, and people who are suffering because of lack of money, and it's highly understandable to change their lifestyles in a minute. It's not going to happen. I mean, it's double price. Not going to happen. But then I think it's a big debate going on what are kind of consumers on what we can do, or what the decision makers and who are really politicians, what they can do. I think the major thing is what they can do, because they need to change the system, as Financial Times said. That's major. But also we can change our lifestyles if we can do it. But I think also in that sense, we can't blame people too much, because some people just can't do it. I mean, it's impossible. And like, for example, this traveling without flying fare, we are not blaming anyone. We just don't talk about flying at all. And it's not our case. We are not saying you're the bad person. And then I think, like flying, it's like case of flying. Some people think, as you said, you want to relax sometimes. Yeah, just go ahead. I will do it also sometimes. But then I think also is to give information in a way that we will understand what it really means, instead of we are blaming it, just to let you know. And because people are thinking what kind of actions we can do, information is important. Maybe in the future I can use the information in a way that I can change something in my life. But it's also a matter of what kind of food we can buy. I saw this McDonald's burger, and like related to food, it's been like always, like not always, in our generation, not in my grandmother's generation. When my grandmother, she was born in countryside in the middle part of Finland, everything was organic, of course. They didn't need any labeling. They had the cows there. They killed the cows. They knew the name of the cows. They ate the cows. And that's pretty good, I mean. But then I think the problem happened between. The mass production, like the time of mass production, changed everything. And we kind of forget, like we kind of, we don't know anything, we don't know anymore how do we consume, what do we eat. And that's kind of the problem. But that's not only our problem, it's a problem of the whole system. Sorry about the complicated answer, but it's not like there is not right answer on this, I think. Did I answer it right?
So you think that it's necessary to talk about these ideas also in Russia? It doesn't matter how much money people earn and what kind of lifestyle.
I think it is, but I think without blaming. I think you can say directly what you think, and you can directly give the facts out. Some people don't want to believe you, and then it's okay. They just don't. You can't force them, but you can try. But then some people might have a chance to do something differently. But then also what's happening is like there's always inside few years. There's a lot of massive changes going on, and it's not surprising that people are afraid of change and afraid of their lifestyle. Some people will lose some money. I think the middle-aged guys generally are losing the money, so they're afraid of this. In my generation, is mainly afraid of the change, and that's highly understandable why we are afraid of change. But we are trying. I think the key here is to how to survive this without a fight. But we need also the facts right, and fact checking is the key. Also for people who share different kinds of knowledge, different kinds of links. When you do that, check always, because there are lots of like alternative facts everywhere around now. And then also it's based on your personal lifestyle, what kind of changes you can make. Maybe in your lifestyle right now, my life situation is pretty impossible to make like a big changes. Then it is like that. And people might be a bit depressed nowadays because they can't do anything. But it might take some time. But it's a complicated question, and I think we need major decisions made by upper level before we do. We can do something what we can do. Any more? Interesting topics. This is actually what is in a headlines in Finland all the time now. Because that's so important to kind of understand, like, not everyone can do the change so fast as like we like to do. Are we here? Okay, if you have something in mind later on, I'm going to hang around here if you want to talk or share some ideas. Thank you. Thanks.